ish, but like.
Because I knew
it's
something
not
was
bad.
up, because I heard the door slam, and then, because I could hear the target, because I literally walked in, and was sitting in the chair, and I went,
She just like, don't have to like a while.
I go, "Just too fast, too fast," I'm like,
So, that's the main thing. But yeah. I'll miss back. Yes.
Hey Ian, if anybody else knocks on the door, do you mind grabbing it?
Yeah, for sure, man.
So everybody at Point Blank knows you. Checked up the background
Good or
check.
bad, or-
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, well, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna try to keep this, I'm gonna try to keep it to an hour tonight. Some of them have run a little bit longer, right? But I'm gonna try to keep this to an hour. There's a lot to cover, but there isn't a lot to cover. This is not gonna be, here are the items you need for kits. That's not what this is. This is critical thinking, just like everything else. Everything else up to this point has been a matter of getting you to think for yourselves to determine what's right for you. If you have questions on the live stream, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll answer those. So let's roll right into this. It says 2 hours. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it to an hour. We'll go through my quick introduction, and then we'll talk about different types of kits before we get into how to build it, what to put in it. Let's talk about different types. We'll get into some critical thinking, some identifications, some introspectives, some things like that. And then we'll talk about the steps you actually need to take to build these things, to be effective doing it. And then we'll kind of go through some of my stuff up here. I'm not going to dissect every single one of these, but I might take an item or two out and explain why, or maybe what you might think about, and I'll kind of explain what the heck all these things are. So before we get started, just like always, what makes me qualified to stand up in front and talk about this stuff, right? And quite frankly, the answer is nothing. I'm not certified in preparedness or anything like that, but I've been doing it long enough that I've tried a bunch of stuff and failed at a bunch of stuff, and wasted a lot of money, and I've found some things that work for me. They may not work for you, but the idea is to get you to think about it and maybe think about something you hadn't thought of before, which is why we've done all this other stuff in the previous episodes. So, if you have a question, please, please, please ask it, right? It's meant to be interactive. It's not just me up here talking for an hour or two. If you have a question, there's no stupid question, right? That's what teachers always say. But truthfully, there isn't, because if you don't know the answer, then it's not a stupid question. You need to know the answer, especially in preparedness, because that can mean the difference between surviving or thriving and not. So let's dive right in. Different types of kits. There are many. I'm going to list 5, and I actually have a 6th up here on the table that we'll talk about as kind of a 6th. So first one, everyday carry. Everybody's heard this term. If you Google EDC or plug it into YouTube, oh my gosh, you'd be there forever, right? That's the rabbit hole you can fall down. EDC is items you keep on you, physically on you every day. So they're with you when you go to the bathroom, they're with you when you go to the restaurant, or anything like that. Everyday carry, items you keep on yourself every day. The next, an EDC bag, which is a kit that goes with you everywhere. This isn't I've got a backpack for when I go hiking, or I've got a bag that I take when I go to my office, or whatever. This is truly an everyday bag. It goes with you everywhere. Into and out of vehicles, into and out of stores, etc. Now for ladies, you kind of have an everyday bag most cases, a clutch or something, but it varies because I know there are different types and colors and styles and materials. So it's an everyday bag, kind of, right? Kind of. A get-home bag, which is a kit that can be kept with you or staged somewhere that is designed to get you to a designated location. It's called a get-home bag, but it could be a get-out bag, or a get-home-from-work bag, or a get-to-a-predetermined location, whether it's a friend's house, whatever it is. It's a bag that's designed to be staged somewhere or kept with you to get you to a designated location. Continuing on, a vehicle kit. A vehicle kit is designed to be kept with that vehicle, with items designed to maintain functionality and reliability for said vehicle. Lots of different stuff here. And then lastly, the bug out bag. Again, punch that into YouTube and Bob's your uncle. You can spend the rest of your days watching bug out bag videos, reviews, builds, all kinds of stuff. But that is a kit designed to sustain life for extended periods of time with little or no outside resources. So everything you need in a kit, in a bag, in something. Those are different types of kits. Basically, they all fall into 5 categories. There's kind of a 6th, which we'll talk about, like I mentioned, but basically they all fall into 5 categories. So, with that knowledge, everyday carry on person, every EDC bag, you've got your get home bag, you've got your vehicle kit, you've got a bug out bag. Everything you can make can fall into one of those 5 categories. So with that, let's talk about a whiteboard review. And as we go through this, there are a bunch of different scenarios. There are a bunch of different strengths and weaknesses that we talked about in prior seminars. Good news is you won't have to watch me write anything down tonight. I know that can be painful. Right? Lots of strengths, lots of weaknesses, assets, liabilities. And then additionally, we talked about skill sets, right? Different skills that you can have that can aid you. So with some of these in mind, whether it's a scenario, an asset, a liability, or a skill set, you have to consider many things, but not the least of which is your client, right? So as you start to build your kits, somebody in Anchorage, Alaska, probably isn't going to put the same items as somebody in Maui. Just guessing. I could be completely wrong. But they're not going to be identical kits. So climate plays a role, but within climate are seasonal changes. So if you come across something like you live in the north and you put winter tires or snow tires on your car, you should probably change whatever that vehicle kit is as well to sustain that. Because it very likely needs maybe a different type of oil or a different type of antifreeze or something like that. Location, to include population density, the infrastructure that's around you, road infrastructure, utilities, stuff like that, and then any restricted areas. So if you think about this stuff, hey, okay, I'm going to build a get-home bag, and I got to go from point A to point B, but there's a military base in my way. I can't just walk right across the military base. It's a great way to never get home. You got to think about stuff like that. So as you plan your routes, as you plan the items that you're putting in whatever kit you're building, you got to think about that. Resource availability, not the least of which is hospitals, medical, EMS, things like that. How far? Are you in middle of nowhere, North Dakota, where basically you've got a helicopter that comes in and gets you if you need it? Or are you in a downtown major metropolitan area where there's a hospital every 4 blocks? Think about that. And then, of course, water, food, and shelter. All of those things, water, food, shelter, additional supplies that you can replenish, all that stuff is going to vary based on your location. So going back to location, again, if you're in a rural area, you're not going to be able to go to a building necessarily and use your little water key and turn it on and get water out of a building. There might be no buildings. So how do you get water? How do you get food? Network. What kind of network do you have? Are you planning for just yourself, or do you have family, friends, neighbors, children, pets, other people that you're planning for? And how can those people help you? Do they know what the plan is? Do they have their own kids, or are they going to be relying on what you've put together? Things like that. Skills and knowledge level, which kind of comes back to this. You can be incredibly physically fit, but if you don't know how to turn a wrench on a car to change a wheel, what's the point? Conversely, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't physically do it, it doesn't help you. Physical fitness level. And then lastly, as we talk about some vehicle kits, you've got to consider the vehicle, the size of the vehicle, right? The fuel range and the reliability of that vehicle. Is it going to be an asset or a liability? Are you going to have this big thing that just gets stuck in traffic? Or are you going to and run out of fuel after 10 miles? Or are you going to have something you can actually maneuver through tight areas if you need to? Again, it's traffic in your bug out plan, or whatever it is. So these are all things that you've got to think about as you build these kits, because you might think, hey, I'm population density, and from a resource standpoint, that's something that I know I can replenish because there's a convenience store right down the road. God forbid something happens, I can go and I can buy something, or whatever it is, right? So there's going to be likely the ability for you to replenish water, food, shelter, and things like that. But if you don't live close, then you've got to plan for that. Maybe you've got a cache of items somewhere and go back and that's your route home. You can replenish while you're there. So, let's talk about the first steps. You've got to set yourself up for success. How do you do that? Well, first and foremost, it's education. Education on whatever you think your scenario is. Whatever scenario you think is most likely to happen, or a combination thereof. What does that scenario look like to you? Are you in a floodplain? Right? If maybe you think about earthquakes. Hey, well, where are the fault lines? What's overdue for an earthquake? How far is a 6.0 magnitude earthquake going to travel? What does that look like? What is a 6.0? What are the building codes? If you're in uptown, major metropolitan, what are the building codes? Are they such like California, where the buildings aren't going to topple over because of a little shake? Things like that. You got to educate yourself on whatever you think is likely to happen, because that will help you understand what will actually happen. And then learn from that and take that through that whole scenario. Find a place that's had something like that. Play that scenario through beginning to end. Okay, how did this affect them? How might it affect me? And what can I do to prepare for it? So educating yourself on the scenario. Then you've got to educate yourself on, okay, what items might actually help you. Because not everything you think is going to help you might actually help you. Then you've got to understand how to use those items effectively and efficiently. So education is going to be the longest part of this. It's the least sexy, the least fun, but it's the most important. So tools are only effective in the hands of people who know how to use them. Long and the short. Otherwise, it's just paperwork. Again, if you don't know how to turn a wrench on a car to change a wheel, it's not going to help anybody. So, with that said, don't carry something you're unfamiliar with, unless it's something crucial, in which case, familiarize yourself with it. How does it work? Don't get it just because it made a list. I want to point this out. That's what I talked about tonight. I'm not going to tell you what items to put in your kits. Everybody's different. Don't get something just because it made a list. Don't put it in a bag just because of that. You don't have to be an expert, right? I don't know everything there is to know about everything, but I know a little bit about a lot of things. So I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think you'll find most people in the preparedness community kind of feel that same way. I think most of them would refer to themselves as a jack of all trades. Try to be a little bit knowledgeable in a lot of different areas. But the one I would recommend to get pretty knowledgeable in is something like medical, right? Because medical can happen whether we're talking about a scenario here or not, right? So medical would be a good one to dive a little deeper in. But other than that, it's going to depend on your scenario, your plan, etc. There are so many educational resources available. Not all of them are good. Not all of them are good. Some people have no idea what they're talking about. Any idiot with a camera and a YouTube channel can make stuff up, right? Case in point. Trust but verify. I've said this in all the classes that I've taught, firearms classes, educational seminars, things like that. Don't just take my word for something, or any one person's word for something. Vet that through other sources. If one person is saying something that seems kind of outlandish, probably a reason that only that person is saying. So just vet it. Trust but verify. And lastly, and most importantly, don't forget to factor yourself into this. Again, your education, your knowledge, and your physical fitness play a much larger role than you think in that scenario. Because you can have the biggest, baddest bug-out kid in the world, but if it weighs 55 pounds and you've never carried anything heavier than a purse, that's not going to go well. You've got to factor yourself into the situation. Procurement. So the 3 steps are education. We're on procurement. Be careful when you select these items. And I don't just mean based on the scenario, but I also mean based on quality of tool. You can buy a $9 tourniquet But would you trust your life to a $9 tourniquet that hasn't been vetted? Or would you pay $30 for a Cat 7 that the military uses and it saved countless lives? Personally, I'm going to spend that $30 versus the $9. That's just me. I want to know that this is going to work in the time that I actually absolutely need it, because the worst time in the world to find out a tourniquet doesn't work is when you're trying to put it on. Buy the items individually and then put them all together yourself. Because, and this last bit is really the important bit, when you go in and you buy a survival kit, it has to be priced in such a manner that you would actually buy it, right? So how do you do that? Well, you've got to have your margins to make money as a store. So what do? You put less expensive stuff in there. So it's cheap shit. Or a really expensive kit. But also, not all those items might be pertinent to what you need. Quite frankly, a chainsaw blade doesn't do me any good in an urban environment. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that. Maybe make a weapon out of it, I suppose. But realistically, a chainsaw blade is not going to do me any good. But a water key, master water key, doesn't do anybody in rural Montana any good either. So buy the items yourself, put them in the kit yourself. Then you also know where they are. How many of you have ever bought a first aid kit and never opened it until you started to leave it? Yeah, absolutely. And then you go, shit, where are the Band-Aids? Build it yourself. Which brings us to our last point, building. So education, procurement, and building. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend redundancies. The military calls it 2 is 1, 1 is 0. We'll wait for the noise to go down a little bit. Perfect. So 2 is 1, 1 is none. If you can, and you're going to see this as a theme when I kind of showcase some of my stuff here, I have the same item multiple times. There's one very particular item that I think is the most important item to carry, and it's in every single one of these kits on the table. For an EDC bag, specifically the bag, I recommend something that blends into your environment. If you work uptown, multicam and molly, probably going to make you stick out like a sore thumb. But something maybe like this blends in a little bit better. Conversely, if you work in the woods and you're a hunter or a hunting guide, I probably don't want some fancy looking city sling pack, right? I want something that looks the part. So blend into your environment as best you can. Try not to get yourself to stick out. For all kits, I encourage each item to have multiple uses. So going back to redundancies, right? You want something that's important to have multiple of, in case that breaks or you lose it or whatever. But also, you want to make sure that each item, whenever possible, can perform multiple tasks. And we'll get into kind of what that means, but basically think of it this way. If I can get a multi-tool that's got a screwdriver, knife, a bottle opener, and all these other fancy Swiss Army knife stuff, that's 6 or 7 less things that I need to carry. And weight is a big deal. Again, as you factor yourself into these scenarios, weight is going to play a big factor. Even in a vehicle, weight's going to play a big factor. For all kits, I encourage items that you use a lot, probably in a very easily accessible place. If you can, just put it in your pockets, because then you don't ever have to dig into the kit. But otherwise, put it in easy accessible places. If you need a bottle of water, having it buried at the bottom of the bag probably isn't the best thing, because you're going to need to be going for that. More likely than, let's say, the Army surplus store poncho that you bought. So, I promised we'd be quick. We're 18 minutes in. We're going to start taking a look at what I've got up here on the table, and I want you to ask questions as we go along. So first things first, everyday carry. Who remembers what that is? Yeah?
What you carry on your body every day.
Exactly. What you carry physically on your body every day. Now, here's the thing. I would not blame you at all if you said, well, fuck, it's his presentation. He knew it was going to come up. He staged it. He packed his pockets with everything he knew he wanted to talk about. If you see me out, ask me to do this. Ask me to do a pocket dump, or hey, what are you carrying? Because it's going to look identical. Anybody who knows me, Danny's been around a long time. You know that I carry this stuff every single day. This is not just for a seminar. So we'll start in the back. I'll say this before I start taking my stuff out. My pocket layout on these jeans is not the same pocket layout I have on every pair of pants. So don't think like, oh, well, I've always got to have this in this pocket. It's always going to be whatever. Pick a side of your body, left side of your body, right side of your body. Stick with that. What pocket it's in or where it's located, I'm less concerned about, but I know, hey, my left hand always goes for my flashlight. My right hand always goes for my knife. That's just how it works, whether it's in a cargo pocket or up on the hip, whatever it is. Try to keep the side of your body the same. So, I don't put anything in my back pocket, but in my hip pocket, I carry a flashlight. And this is an Olight M2R Pro Warrior. We'll talk about that more in a second. So flashlight, in the days of the Rona, and I've been doing this since before it was cool, I carry a pen. That is arguably one of the nastiest things that you can touch, is a pen that everybody else touches at the grocery store to sign a receipt for the Powerade that you bought, right? Carry a pen. The other thing that this pen is, it's an aluminum housing, metal housing. It doesn't matter. I encourage metal whenever possible. Sharpie makes one. You can go buy a Sharpie pen in a metal housing. It can be used as a defensive tool. Left front pocket, cell phone, many useful things on there, apps, whatever. In my little, I guess that's a coin pocket or a pocket watch pocket, keys to the car, and then on the keys of the car I have another flashlight which has 2 different brightness settings. It's brighter, do you think?
Yeah.
Keys to the car, and then on this hip pocket I actually have a pocket knife. I am not a knife person. This is arguably one of the least expensive knives you can buy, but it's just a tool to me. And then my wallet. That's it. That's all I carry on my person every single day. Now, if you've sat in earlier seminars, you know that I believe in something called operational security, OPSEC. What that means, as a refresher, is I'm not going to necessarily tell you everything about what I do as a prepper, as somebody who's of a preparedness mind, whether it be the type of locks on my house, right, or the security system that I choose to run, or if I carry a firearm, things like that, or where I might carry it. So understand that at the bare minimum, that's with me every single day. Might be a couple more items than that, but at the bare minimum, that's it. So, I want to get back to this flashlight. I said I would. The flashlight is the most important tool that you can carry. Period. And I mean a real flashlight, not this. That's cool to find the, hey, where the hell do I put the key in the door? That's cool. That's what you need. You need something that fits your hand. Everybody's hands, different sizes. Everybody's budgets are different. I think this was like $110 retail, but I got it on sale for $80. It's not a cheap flashlight. I mean, you think, fuck, it's just a flashlight, with one exception. It's got a low setting and a high setting. And I won't shine it in your eyes because it's 1800 lumens. It's very powerful. Light can be a defensive tool. Also, flashlights, pretty innocuous items. If you go in and you're going in through a security line where you have to empty your pockets to go through, knife, gun, see ya. Flashlight, whatever. Let them through. Pen, whatever. People don't care about pens, people don't care about flashlights. You can get these through. This one has what's called a crenulated bezel, which basically means if I hit you with it, it's really going to hurt. But arguably, if you hit anybody with anything hard, it's going to hurt, right? This one happens to have little teeth around the top that just kind of grab in and really get the job done. This clip, I can clip it on my pocket. It's also a reverse clip, so I can clip it on a hat, so it can look forward as a headlamp if I wanted it to. It's multi-use, so it's a headlamp, it's a flashlight, it's a defensive tool. At night, like it is right now, it gets dark early. You're walking on a greenway, you're walking back from class. If you've never heard of Tony Blauer, please Google Tony Blauer. Blauer. He has he's built a career around being your own bodyguard, and it's a fantastic course. I encourage you to check that one out. But what he says basically, and part of his teachings are, listen to your gut. listen to your instinct. That's your subconscious or semi-conscious telling you, seeing something that you're not actually seeing. Your conscious mind isn't seeing, right? So if you're walking late at night and you see what I think I see something kind of sketchy, light it up. Light it up. Because at very least, what happened? Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't see you there. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I saw your dog, didn't see you, sorry. Whatever. There's nothing, but you draw a gun and points that at somebody. It's a whole different story. Flashlight is the most important tool you can carry. Make sure it's quality, and make sure it fits your hand and is comfortable and something you're actually going to use. Having a big flashlight, probably not nearly as effective as having something you can fit in the palm of your hand or in your pocket. Flashlight is the most important. What you're going to see in every single one of these kits, there is a light of some kind. So, even if I have this on my body, if I've got any one of these with me, there's another flashlight in there. Because maybe I need to hand it to somebody else. Or maybe I need a light shining from one angle and a light shining from another angle. Many, many, many different uses. Questions about the 6 items I carry?
What was the brand on that again?
Olight, O-L-I-G-H-T. I think it's olightstore.com or something like that. It's a Chinese company, but their American headquarters are in Georgia, I think. I have a lot. Basically everything I have is Olight. That little guy's Olight. I really like their stuff. Their quality's always been good for me. You'll hear a lot of pros and cons. Any other questions?
Have you ever tried to take that flashlight through security? Is it TSA approved?
I haven't been on a plane in a long time. But, so that's a great question.
I don't know, because that's my biggest challenge is when I
Right.
travel, I
So-
would like to have something when I get to
Right, I, for a living, got on a plane every other week and flew somewhere in the country. And I actually developed a kit, a backpack, very low profile backpack. And I'll remind you, because I'll send you some pictures of it. And in there, I had everything that was TSA approved, and that's all that bag was for flights. So that was my plane kit, my travel
Right.
kit, if you will. Right, so
That's what I
it was my EDC when I had to go through TSA.
Right.
In there, I did have a flashlight, and I never got stopped. Now, I didn't have something that big, it was a little bit smaller, but it still got the job done. I mean, it was still a pretty powerful light. So I would argue that yes, you can absolutely get a flashlight through, but keep this in mind. And maybe it's something we don't know. Each TSA agent has the authority to make up their mind on the spot. So if I walk through with this, and they're like, yeah, whatever, come on through, and then you walk through the same thing, they can take it away from you. They have the authority to do that.
I've lost 2 tactical pens.
2 tack pens. Oh, were they pointy?
The point was on the inside that you had to flip the.
You can check that one out.
Yeah.
So that one, there is no point. It's just a twist open
Right.
and twist close.
Yeah.
So in that case, that's where that Sharpie will come in handy. If it says Sharpie on the side, that's one thing. If it says tactical or
Yeah.
whatever on the side,
Yeah.
then it's a completely different story. Because then they're
Right.
looking at it like, oh, well, that's a tactical pen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Sharpie. Those are actually really good. If you can find them, the Sharpie ones are really good. Other questions? Cool. EDC bag. That right there. Now, here's the cool thing. I don't have to take anything out. This is what I carry in my EDC bag. The only difference from this photo to what's in there right now is one of these pens in place of one of those pens. So I had a click pen in there before. I just replaced it with a metal housed pen. That's the only difference. There's a lot of stuff, and they fall into a couple categories. Number 1, medical. That's what this big blue thing is right here. Israeli bandage, tourniquet, stuff like that. Medical. I've got tools, all lighters, whatever, multi-tool, etc. PPE, personal protective equipment, gloves, masks, sunglasses, wipes, etc. Communications, ham radio, cell phone, etc. Power. That's a power bank, and those are a bunch of different types of batteries. Batteries for the optics on the firearms that I choose to carry, AA's, AAA's, batteries for flashlights, 2 of everything. Charging cables, right? Power. You can't, this right here does me no good if I don't have a cable to power something. I don't own an Apple product. There's an Apple power cord there. You might own an Apple phone, and I might be able to help you. Doesn't have to be an end of the world kind of thing. water is just kind of good to have. I've got hand sanitizer, cleaning products, right? So I've got Lysol wipes, I've got baby wipes and things like that. And then I also have, for those who watched the skills seminar, I have a lockpick. That's this one here. Keys, common master keys for a lot of things. And then one turning tool for the lockpick. But also, this is with me on my body. I have 2 flashlights in this bag. So that's 4 flashlights, 5 if you count the one on my cell phone.
What is that above your mask?
That is a USB drive,
Oh.
and that's a micro SD card that goes into a larger SD card. So if I need to transfer data for any reason, I can do that whether it be USB or SD card slot. Earplugs, poncho, pepper spray. Don't underestimate the power of pepper spray, just like don't underestimate the power of light as a defensive tool. Would you continue being an aggressor if you couldn't see and it felt like your face was on fire? I wouldn't. That's just me. The other thing that's in this kit here are common over-the-counter medications. Advil, Tylenol, Imodium, allergy medications, things like that. Because the last thing I want is to be somewhere and get bit by an ant or something that I'm allergic to, and all of a sudden it just ruins my life. If I can take Benadryl until I can get somewhere to get more aid if needed, something like a quick over-the-counter medication is always going to be beneficial.
Is that a deck of cards?
It is a deck of cards. You ever been stuck in an airport?
Yes.
You ever been that person sitting on the floor next to the power plug? Yeah, it sucks. So I have a power thing and a deck of cards. It's in your phone can charge while you play solitaire, because that's all you're going to do with your phone anyway. Right? Deck of cards, always fun. Also, I have here zip ties, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but zip ties are in that bag. Questions about anything else? Cool. Get home bag. I believe in a tiered and complementary system. As such, I don't have a get home bag as you would have it. I don't have a separate bag that I would define as a get home bag. So instead, I believe having items staged in such a manner that you can add them to what you're already carrying to get home. Because here's my argument for this. This is my EDC bag. This is my EDC. I've got a lot of items between those things. What don't I really have is maybe some spare clothing. But you dress for the weather. Going back to before, right? You wouldn't walk out of your house if it's snowing without a coat on. Dress for more than you think you need. That's a preparedness thing our mothers should have taught us when we were young. Let's say I have a get-home bag, and I have my EDC bag. Okay, I'm at my get-home bag now. What do I do with my EDC bag? Do I just leave that? And very likely, everything in the get-home bag is probably a duplicate of what I'm carrying already anyway, with maybe a few notable exceptions. Arguably, the get-home bag is larger, heavier. Also, if you have to travel somewhere to get to a get-home bag that will help you travel somewhere, how is that helping you? So instead, I believe to having items staged in such a manner. So all that to say, what I have on my person gets me to my EDC bag. Let's take a scenario where I'm at a restaurant or I'm in my work, an office. Hard to believe that we might actually go back to offices. I'm in an office. I get up to go to the break room to put my cup of coffee back in the sink, rinse it out, wash it, whatever. Something happens. My bag's at my desk. What I have on my body should be able to get me back to my desk. Power outage, whatever. What I have at my desk in my get-home bag should be able to get me to my vehicle. What I have in my vehicle should be able to get me back to a designated location, a house. So if you look at it, I guess you can consider my vehicle as my get-home bag. That's me. Now, if I don't have a vehicle or I can't get to the vehicle for whatever reason, I got a bottle of water in here. I could fill it up with stuff. Probably wouldn't do it if it were questionable water, right? But at the very least, I could always do it, and then if it's a short-lived scenario, I can get antibiotics, I can get antivirals, I can get that kind of stuff to cure whatever it is I got from drinking nasty water. It's going to taste like terrible, but it is what it is. So I don't have a get-home bag, but maybe you need one. Maybe it makes sense for you to have one. Maybe it makes sense because you aren't going to carry an EDC bag. Maybe it makes sense to have a much larger bag with space that you could put a purse in or something like that. and that's staged somewhere. Vehicle, office, friend's house, whatever it is. I don't have a gallon bag, that's why. Questions about that? It's so anti-sexy, right? It's like, wait, how do you not have this kind of kit? I've tried, believe me, I've tried it. It just doesn't work for me. Vehicle kit. The kit should be tailored to support the vehicle, not you. It's not your kit, it's the vehicle's kit. Think of it like the vehicle's EDC. It's the vehicle's EDC bag, right? The items in there should be to support the vehicle. So, just like it, every vehicle should have its own. There will be similarities, right, across vehicles. But what you need for a Hummer H2, probably you don't need a Nissan Leaf or a Tesla, right? It's going to be different. So there, of course, will be similarities across those, but each kit should be tailored to each vehicle, and each vehicle should have one. So there are many kinds of vehicles. You got to think about this. On-road, car, truck, SUV, motorcycle, scooter, whatever. Off-road versions of all those, plus ATVs, UTVs, things like that. If you live in the woods and you're a deer hunter or whatever, you probably want something to either field dress the deer or get it back out. You might need a rack for the ATV, something like that. And then don't forget about human-powered vehicles, bicycles, skateboards, rollerblades. Is that still a thing? Heelys, hoverboards, whatever it is, right? Those things just explode still. Is that a thing too? I don't know. There are many different types of vehicles. So when you think vehicle, don't just think car, truck, SUV. So many more types of vehicles. A vehicle kit could contain, we'll go through kind of what I've got, but it could contain, what's that number one item up there? Flashlight, gee, I wonder why. Medical and trauma items. Again, you're more likely to need to do something medical related than rebuild an engine block or repair a brake line or something like that. Spare parts for items such as fuses, bulbs, chains, etc. If you're going to rely on this vehicle, the vehicle needs to have stuff that keeps it going. If you blow a fuse and you have no lights in the middle of the dark at night, how are you going to know where you're going? Then it becomes unsafe. You can drive off the edge of a cliff potentially, or into a lake or something. So having a spare fuse or a bulb can make the difference between seeing and being able to travel and not. Chains, motorcycles, bicycles, things like that. Duct tape or zip ties. You would be surprised how much shit duct tape and zip ties can fix, at least temporarily. Holy cow. It's incredible. Between the two of them, duct tapes and zip ties, you can fix a lot of stuff. Carry them. They're really inexpensive, especially zip ties. Crazy inexpensive, and they do so much. Jumper cables and fix-a-flat. Those are kind of the two staples every parent ever instilled into any driver who was just getting their license. Hey, make sure you got jumper cables in case your battery dies. Make sure you got a can of fix-a-flat. I would also argue, make sure you have a spare tire that isn't completely rotted out. Right? You check your tire pressures, you get your tires and wheels changed that are on the car. What about the one in the car or under the car? You should probably get that one looked at too. Bug out bag. Who's got a bug out bag? Okay. I don't. I, again, believe in a tiered and complementary system. My family can't live out of a bag. I've got a family. We can't live out of a bag. It's just not going to happen. But I have items staged in such a manner that I can grab and go. So again, what I have in my pockets gets me to my bag. Bag gets me to my car. Car gets me to a designated location where items are staged, and then we can survive. We can make a call at that point what the next step is based on the scenario we have in front of us in the situation, and then we can either choose to go to another location or stay put. But either way, I've got supplies staged. I don't have a bug out bag. How heavy is your bug out bag?
Well, I kind of did what you did, so I have several bags that fit into other bags.
You have nesting dolls.
I guess so.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, all together, it's pretty heavy.
Have you ever carried it?
Yes.
For how far?
And it's heavy from, the car to the cabin kind of thing. That's what my husband is for. No, but it's heavy if I put all my bags together.
Right. Well, and that's how you'd likely be carrying it. So just keep, again, don't forget to factor yourself into this situation.
Right.
If you've never trained with that, you have any, what shoes you gonna wear when that happens?
Right, I just have tennis shoes in there.
Right,
for-
you've got nice shoes, fashion shoes on.
Yeah, I just have like tennis shoes.
So you
in
have
the back.
shoes in the bag. See, that's smart. Understanding that. Are they new shoes?
Well,
or
because
old
I'm a
shoes?
girl, because you never know what I'm wearing when I have to bug out.
Just say that. You got spare shoes in the bag?
I don't have a bag yet, but I'm happy I'm here.
Good,
Learn.
good, good. So,
It should be in the bag.
are they new shoes or old shoes?
No, oh, well, they're good, but they're older.
Used, worn.
Yeah.
Yeah, new shoes. I would almost rather not have any spare shoes than new shoes.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to break those things out on a 12-mile hike with 50 pounds on my back. No, thank you. I don't want to do that, right? So, I don't have one. Maybe it makes sense for you. Maybe you can, at a moment's notice, students from this area?
Probably SCP and UNCC.
Okay, but from, your family lives in the area?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, yes?
My dog.
So, would you want to get back to family? Very likely in the event of a cataclysmic event like a volcano or something like that, you're probably going to want to get back to family. So maybe a bug out bag makes sense for you, but it's something you keep in a vehicle. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, your vehicle is going to carry you most of the way. But what if it doesn't? What if it can't? So that bug out bag might make sense for you. Think about stuff like that, right? If you've got family closer, where would you go? What would you do? How bad would it have to get for you to leave? And then, what are you going to do when you leave? So, we're going to get through my stuff first. We're going to go through this. We've already gone through what I carry in the EDC bag, so I'm not going to talk about those. I said there was kind of a sixth category, and that sixth category is babies. That's a diaper bag. That is a trauma kit. That can come with me. It can go on a different bag. It can whatever. That's full-blown trauma kit. I have in here a boo-boo kit. This is Band-Aids. This is I fell and I scraped my knee. This is I fell onto something that is now sticking out of it. Right? That's what these are. Sharpies, pens, the old classic, Are You My Mother, right? Books, entertainment. So I've got a deck of cards for me, I've got a book for the kid. It falls into a different category, potentially. It's his EDC bag, but it's complementary to what I'm carrying, because realistically, I'm going to have a majority of the stuff. We'll close that up later. I'm going to have a majority of the stuff, but at the same time, I think that it doesn't make sense for me to not have a bag for him. Who's got pets? Do your dogs have kits?
Yes.
They've got vests, right, with carriers on either
Yes,
side.
yes.
Both my dogs have the same thing.
Yeah.
They carry their own food and water bowls in there. I've got a tennis ball in one, whatever, toy.
Yeah,
And
we have
then-
like Benadryl for snake bites and,
Right.
and all
Yes.
kinds of stuff.
There's more to your family than just humans, right? The other thing I would encourage you to do, and this especially goes for you students, ballistic armor. You can't carry a gun on school property, but you can put your backpack in between you and a bad guy. $49. Consider it, strongly consider it. Also, you see, what's right there? That's another flashlight. Funny that. You can see it's been there for a while because that thing's all stretched out. But as you build your kits, put a flashlight in every single one. I don't care any other items you put in there. Put a flashlight in it. And put a flashlight that takes different batteries. Because if I come across this bag, there's a bunch of different batteries in there. So I can power AA's and the 123s. Right? I can use both sets of batteries, and now I have two flashlights. Instead of having spare batteries for one flashlight, I can actually have two. So I can use one as a defensive tool if I need to, and the other one is light. So diaper bags can kind of fall into a separate category, right? That sixth category, which is just being a parent. So let's talk about vehicle kits. Bicycle. Tire pressure gauge, tire repair tools, spare pocket knife. There's a multi-tool in here that is specific to bicycles, specific to the bicycle that I ride. I've also got in here flashlight. Funny. It's kind of a theme. I also have a Sharpie in here, and this Sharpie is silver versus the black one because I ride a black bicycle. So if I needed to write something on the bicycle for whatever reason, maybe it was a note to a family member or something, black on black probably is not going to do anything, right? It's not going to catch your eye. But silver will. That's actually just a fanny pack I wear around. It sits right in the back. And then also in here, I usually do, I carry snacks. Bicycle. Questions about bicycle? Cool. Motorcycle. Almost every motorcycle, modern motorcycle, comes with a toolkit. It's under the seat. Put the key in, take the seat off, there's a toolkit under there. This is the toolkit from one of my motorcycles. What did I put in here? I added zip ties, I added some Velcro strapping. It's basically a long piece. It's got hook on one side, loop on the other, so it connects to itself. And then I put a bunch of spare fuses. And these fuses I know will fit the bike because I took it off, looked at the fuse box. Okay, what size fuse do I need? Because there's actually 3 common different sizes of fuses for vehicles. So know what you need. Buying just fuses isn't good enough. You got to know, and also what amp, because you don't want to put a 20 amp fuse in something that should take a 5 or a 10 amp fuse. You could melt wires. You've got to know kind of what you're looking at there. Again, it goes back to the education standpoint. So toolkit. The other motorcycle that I have also has a toolkit, and it's specific to that. Japanese bikes are different from European bikes, are different from American-made motorcycles. SAE versus whatever the heck Europe uses versus metric over in Japan. This is a kit that I can actually clip on to the gas tank, on the top of the gas tank. So this swaps between the 2 motorcycles depending on which one I'm riding. I can't ride both at the same time. So this clips. It's got a window on the top for my phone I can put in. It's got a port on the back. I've got USB plugs on the motorcycle so I can power my phone, charge it up as I go. And then in here I've got things like trauma kit. If I go down on a motorcycle, I want to make sure somebody else can help me if I can't help myself. Trauma kit's right there on top. And then I've also got a flashlight. Snacks, multi-tool. In addition to what I have in here, I've just got a standard multi-tool, a couple bottles of water. I've got more earplugs under the helmet when I ride, otherwise I'll lose my hearing. And a hat. Questions about motorcycle? You're seeing a common theme, right? Across the board, we're kind of seeing flashlight, medical, vehicle for, in this case, SUVs. Holy ton of stuff. It's also really heavy. But I've got a big vehicle with a lot of storage space. Not a lot of storage space, a lot of storage space. It's also worth noting when I ride the motorcycle, I can actually take that EDC bag and put a trunk on it. I can put the EDC bag in the trunk. So when I get somewhere, I take the EDC bag out, put it on, I put my jacket, my helmet in there, lock it up, and I can walk away. So that EDC bag really is EDC. That's just an old Nalgene bottle with a water filtration system in it. So again, it's a tiered and complementary system, which means pocket to bag, bag to vehicle, vehicle to home. So if I run out of water in the bag, I can then filter a bunch of it, whether it be right there on the spot. This also comes in a little bag I can fill up too. Or I can put it back in that water bottle because this water filter screws onto the top of standard water bottles. So water filter kit, big knife, big flashlight, zip ties, tire repair, fix a flat, shovel, jumper cables, tow cable, like tow rope, that kind of stuff. All of that's in here. Also, and you might think I'm a little, I don't know, bougie, coverall. If I'm dressed nice and I get a flat tire, last thing I want to do is change a wheel and then get covered in shit. So having a coverall that I can just throw on over top of whatever I'm wearing, I'll let that get dirty. That way my suit or whatever nice clothing I'm wearing doesn't get dirty. Bungee cords to help strap things down. Those are just little microfiber cloths. that I keep in there in case I need to wipe my hands after getting greasy, something like that. And that's just what's in the kit. Again, it's not for me, it's for the car, right? Flashlight, jumper cables, tie down straps, tire repair, lots of tires. There's a bottle jack in here because the jacks that most cars come with, wholly inadequate, Batman. Terrible. And if you bought a used car, jack might not be in there. Somebody else might have taken it out to repair a tire and then just never put it back. So I actually bought a spare bottle jack, separate bottle jack, and I carry that. It's a whole lot easier, a whole lot faster, and a lot more safe. A lot of stuff, very heavy. Obviously, it's not a get-home bag because I mean, what am I going to do with a tire inflator? Not going to do me any good with carrying it, right? But it stays with the vehicle. It's not for me. It's for the car. Can I use some of these stuff? Yeah, absolutely. I can carry a knife, right? Flashlight. I can always use a flashlight. Some other things. Pair of gloves. Pair of gloves is a big one. Put a pair of gloves in your vehicle kit. This hangs around my headrest, my driver's seat headrest. So in the back, hangs behind me if I'm driving down the road like this. Trauma kit with OTC medication, Advil, Tylenol, Imodium, Benadryl, that kind of stuff is all in here. And you can buy those kits on Amazon for, I think, like $12. It comes with however many different individually packed one-time use stuff, like you would buy at a convenience store, except it's all in one.
See, but you don't leave that in your car, do you?
Yeah.
So even in the heat, when we have like 190 some degree weather for 4 months,
Yes.
because that's what I worry about.
So you
medicine.
need to rotate. You gotta rotate. Just like anything else you would do, you gotta rotate. Now, I don't leave chocolate in the car. But yeah, and because really the only thing in here that would potentially go bad are those medications. But if you rotate them on a regular basis, you should be fine, truthfully. And I'm not an expert on medications or anything like that. I don't pretend to be, but here's my thought process on this, and this is not medical advice. I don't care if the expiration date has passed. It probably will still do something.
Right.
That's my take. Oh, I also carry a Sharpie on the outside, and the reason I carry a Sharpie is because if you put a tourniquet on somebody, you kind of got to know what time that went on. And there's a spot on tourniquets, at least the Cat 7s, little strap that comes across, and it says time. You need a Sharpie or something to write on there. I suppose you could write it in their blood. That probably wouldn't be, they probably wouldn't care at that point, actually. You'd probably be good getting away doing that. But having a Sharpie is a good thing. Again, I carry a silver colored one in my bike kit. There's a black one in this, black one in my bag, etc. I try to keep it short, 6:52. I said about an hour, but ask questions. What questions do you have? What scenarios are you thinking of? Dan, you said you had a big one. What's the big one?
Mostly I was thinking if you had a bag, whether it's a get-home bag or a bug-out bag, and you conceal carry, and it's a bag that actually has the waist.
Okay.
So, if you conceal carry inside the waist belt, but then you have another layer of bag around it, you obviously don't want to carry on the bag where people could see it. Basically it's kind of like, how do you stay armed while bugging out?
Yeah, bugging out. So
You have 2 bug out bags.
you got 2 bug out.
No, I do. I got my gun bug out and my bug out bug out.
So fanny pack, wear it in front though. Go be the person at Disney World wearing the fanny pack. I mean, truthfully, they're incredibly useful. I use that when I ride a bicycle, and it's great. I love it.
That Sneaky Pete, have you ever looked at their stuff? Sneaky Pete has some awesome bags you can wear on the outside, and they look like they're for medical use or a charging thing or whatever, but it's a holster for your gun. So
There you go.
it's Sneaky Pete.
So
They're
second bag?
Super
Yeah.
cool looking things.
It's also, I mean, it could be something that, depending on the strap, if it's got like Molly or something on it, you might even be able to put just a standard nondescript.
Yeah, they have them in all
Ouch.
different colors and they look like football fan bag. Just look it up. There's a whole bunch of different ones.
Sneaky Pete's.
Sneaky Pete. Yeah. Super cool.
There you go.
Cool.
I was just gonna add in my vehicle bag, I have it my daughter's too, it's a red light, you've probably seen them on Amazon stuff, so it flashes or it stays red, or it just does a whole bunch of different things.
Is it gonna work?
Yeah, it has a magnet on it, so you can put it on the outside of
Right,
the
so
car.
this is a little heavy, but yeah, you get the point, right? That's got a magnetic base, and actually, this one also has a magnetic base, and that would be better.
Yeah,
And it's got strobe,
right.
so it kind of can function the same. Yeah. That's definitely a good add. A flashlight with a magnetic base is a good thing. See, the cool thing about those is the magnetic base is actually how it charges.
I would, well, she's she's young, so I just got her the big round one that you
Yeah,
stick
yeah,
on
yeah.
the outside of your car.
Yeah, very easy.
Yes.
Stick, push.
Yeah, yeah, it's strobes or it's steady and you stick it on, it's a huge magnet.
So keep this in mind too, and this is not to say that that's not a good idea, it's a great idea. But we're not so different from moths. We get attracted to shiny bright lights and things like that, so I mean, how many times have you heard of a police officer who was on the side of the road helping somebody with their blues going and the cruiser gets towed because some idiot hit it?
Yeah.
You go where you're looking, right? And that's, if you ever take a motorcycle class, like a how to ride class, they tell you the same thing. Wherever you're looking, that's where you're gonna go. So if you're looking at the thing you're trying to miss,
Yeah,
you've already hit it. You gotta look where you wanna go. And it's the same thing in cars. You look where you wanna go. If you see something, oh man, oh, back on the road kind of thing, it happens. So great idea to call out, hey, I mean, it's better than no lights in the middle of the darkness side of a busy highway. I would much rather have.
well, she's Gen Z, so we're just gonna go for it.
You know how to change the tire?
Yeah, actually she does know.
Okay, well, that's good. Any other questions? Online questions?
Headlamps?
So, yes.
Well,
Yes,
I'm I hike, so I have like my hiking Appalachian Trail bag.
Right.
And of course I have my
Yeah.
black diamond headlamp.
How much you pay for that thing?
Let's not talk
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Let's not talk about
Your
that.
wife might watch this, huh? Well, so here's the thing. I like these flashlights with that clip because I can
Right.
turn it. If I've got any hat, right? So if I got this hat, I can put the hat on and I can just clip the light to it. Now I have a headlamp. But I can also take it off and stick it to something, or I can put it in my pocket. I can do whatever I need to or want to do. I prefer this versus a headlamp. And actually, these ones here are designed to be worn through a strap on a backpack. So it would sit like this. So it can be worn like that. It's just preference, really. I love headlamps, but if you buy a headlamp, it's much more difficult to use it as a flashlight.
Right.
Or if you buy a flashlight, it can be a headlamp. I prefer the latter. Just preference. Great question, great idea. What else we got?
I was gonna ask you the life straw.
So, the life straw has fallen out of favor.
Well, I have one, it was given to me, but I've never used it. I figured
You've
maybe
never had a
one,
reason.
well, I mean, I figured one day, maybe when everything's safe and sound, I'll go out in the middle of nowhere and like drink out of it. Like you said, if I get sick,
Right.
well, at least nothing bad's going on, so.
True, yeah, so personally, I prefer, so the kit that I have is actually the Sawyer Mini
Right.
kit. It's less
I have
expensive
something
than a
very
life
similar to
straw.
that, but
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I had been, like I said, someone gave me a life straw.
Yeah,
And,
it's great to wear around your neck,
right,
you know, and just have it always there. And then you can drink while you move, right? So you go somewhere, you find a puddle, you can just get a drink out of a puddle, you can drink out of a bird fountain, whatever, and you're good to go. But this takes time, right? I gotta process
Mhm.
the water, but then I can carry it with me.
right,
The problem with life straw is it's an immediate use thing.
right,
You have to immediately, because what are you gonna do? Drink it and spit it into a bucket? No, thank you.
Right.
Right? No thanks. I would much prefer if you have to fill a vessel and carry the vessel than have the life straw.
is that the, what treatment is that?
That's just a Sawyer Mini water filter. It's actually a filter.
Okay,
So that's the filter.
oh, okay,
So you screw
Right,
it
right,
on,
okay.
and it comes out clean,
okay.
How much water does that
like
process?
10,000 gallons.
Are they pretty much the same, or is there a specific brand you recommend?
Sawyer Mini.
Sawyer, they make a real, I have a larger size one for hiking.
And it's a full kit that it comes with, so it comes with a filter. It comes with, this is the back flush, so I can clean the filter and extend its life. It comes with a little straw. If I really wanted to use it as a life straw, I can use it as one. And then it comes with a broken rubber band. It comes with this little bag. In the little bag, you fill this with tainted water, you screw it into that, and then you just squeeze it back. And then you can fill up a water bottle or whatever you want. Or you can do it the other way. You fill up the water bottle with tainted water, and then squeeze it into the bag. Whatever your process is, just don't forget what the process is. And I just keep it in here because I know that nothing's going to get dirty unless I take it out and handle it as a can. Just know that everything I need is in there, including the vessel to carry. So that's a whole system, and that just stays in the vehicle. Life straw is immediate. A water filter system like that will allow you to transport.
What kind of food do you have?
So food is something that is tough because, again, it goes back to climate and seasonality. Don't put anything chocolate in the car in the summer, but arguably in the winter it's just as bad because it could be frozen. I prefer these little Kind bars, little peanut butter, like a Nature Valley, crumbles everywhere as soon as you open it up kind of thing, it just explodes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I like, I prefer.
Yeah.
That's just preference. I mean, at that point, you can go something as serious as those marine bars that are like 2,000 calories. God almighty.
It tastes.
No, right, you're eating chalk. Right. I prefer something that I can eat. At the end of the day, it comes down to, do you think, and this, you need to figure it out for yourselves, but do you think you will be, how long can you survive without food, right, realistically? It's going to suck, but how long can you do it? Right, about 3 weeks, they say, depending on many different factors. Am I ever 3 weeks from something? I really hope not, right? I really hope not. So again, it goes back to being able to scavenge or procure items through payment, right? So cash is another good thing to carry. I didn't talk about that for a very specific reason, but cash could be a good thing to carry on you. How many of you three carry cash? 2 out of 3, all right. Get on the board, Boyo Bag. Cash is a good thing to have because if the power goes out, how are you going to buy stuff? Right? Here's my recommendation. For a vehicle kit, carry enough cash to fill your tank. In a bad situation. Gas is $2 a gallon. You have a 10-gallon tank, a 20 is not going to do you in a bad situation. Probably going to want double. So whatever the fuel prices are, double it, and then times however many gallons your tank is, that will fill your tank in a crisis. Assuming there's fuel to be gotten. Have enough cash in the vehicle or in the kit to fill the tank. The other thing you could have in a kit, like a vehicle kit, would be spare things like oil, antifreeze, kind of stuff we talked about at the beginning. Any other, like a spare belt. If you've got a serpentine belt, one belt that powers your air conditioner, your water pump, all that kind of stuff, it's called a serpentine belt. If that one belt breaks, everything goes. It's like light bulbs on a Christmas tree. One goes out, they all go out. Carrying a spare belt like that, not a bad idea, because usually it's just a tensioning pulley. You pull that tension down, you put your cable on, you release the tension on the pulley, it holds everything together. But what caused the belt to break, that's something you're going to want to investigate before you go put that spare one on. Questions, thoughts? Again, education is the biggest thing. It sounds like holy, how is he talking about fixing cars and all that kind of stuff? I'm not an expert, believe me. I've just had that happen to me, and I've had to fix it. That's all it is, just life experience. So what makes me qualified to stand in front of you? Nothing. Other than that I've experienced enough stuff that I feel comfortable to answer questions. I don't have all the answers, but I might have something that maybe one of you hasn't thought about. Yes?
So as a student, right now we're not on campus, but hopefully next year, maybe we'll get to go back. So besides the bulletproof,
And thing.
yeah, it's not quite a vest, but something that I can put in my backpack. And besides like pepper spray or pepper gel, would you recommend anything? And I don't know if you know all the rules and stuff for campuses and stuff, but things that aren't like guns and knives and stuff that I could use to protect myself. Like I like the pin idea, like the metal pin.
Flashlight.
Yeah, flashlight.
Super strong flash. If you flash that in somebody's face, especially in the dark, they can't see for.
Yeah. Right? You go blind for
Especially
a
up
second.
close.
Yeah.
It sucks.
If nothing else,
It hasn't happened before, lucky slides, but yeah, it sucks.
if nothing else, it gives you an extra second to get away. I mean, ideally, you're gonna run from the situation, right? You're gonna run, find help. Flashing a light in somebody's eyes, especially at night, if they've been out there waiting for a while, you're bleaching their corneas.
Yeah.
You're bleaching their eyes.
And it's like momentarily blinding them.
Right, we've all seen well,
And
the
also,
old cameras that actually had a flash in the after, right, at weddings, you always walk away with spots. That's a maybe 40 lumen light, that's 1800. That'll ruin your day. It'll make you think twice, and it gives you time to get away because it disorients. Yeah, you go blind for a second, but you don't necessarily lose your balance. But if you can't see and there's a slight up, how many times have you been walking, you're like, holy shit, I didn't see that step there or that hill or whatever. It can be disorienting enough to where they might fall down and you can get it away. Flashlight, absolutely. Invest, if you can't carry a firearm, you can't carry a bladed weapon like a knife or something, get a flashlight, pass that back to her. Get a flashlight with a crenulated bezel with little teeth on the front of that thing, and that light's got some weight to it. That's a no joke piece of material.
so you blind them before you pop them in the face,
Flash, bash, and dash.
right?
I like that.
Flash, bash, and dash. Hit them with 1800 lumens, you smack them in the face, and then you get the hell out of there.
Yeah, this would really tear into somebody.
That's what you carry.
Do you have any lumen recommendations? Like
So,
upper and lower?
Yeah, oh god. All the lumen, all the lumen debate. Here's what I'll tell you. Lumens matter, but so does candela. Hot spot on the wall, right? Not a hot spot on the wall. This has more candela, even though it has fewer lumens. Candela is how focused that beam is in a very particular spot. But outside of that spot, really isn't a whole lot going on. Whereas this one, it's a whole lot going on in a lot of area. Two different things, two different tools. Lumens matter, but so does candela. So what I would recommend is find something, watch reviews, right? Because beam patterns matter. If you want to see really far away, you're going to need a much higher candela number because the beam has to be focused. If you want to see as much as you can in a let's say a classroom or a room like this, I'm going to want less candela, same lumens, less candela, because it's going to be opened up like a floodlight. So I don't care. I mean, here's something else I would say. If you carry a firearm for personal defense, put a light on it. Because let's say a bad thing happens, right? I'm walking down and I light something up. Hey, what's over there? Oh, it's a bad guy. Now I'm going to transition to a firearm. What's the best thing to do? The most stable shooting platform is two hands, right? I've got a light in this hand. I can ditch that light, and in fact, I could turn it on and throw it as a distraction, which gives me time to draw a gun. And now on that gun is another light. So I can manipulate that light because identification, positive target identification, PID, that's important. You don't want to shoot something or somebody that you love, that you know, that really isn't a threat. It might be a cell phone that you mistook for a bladed weapon or a gun or something. So being able to have enough light to understand what's going on is most important. And if you carry a firearm, put a light on it. It's my 2 cents.
That point for your rifle is
I got you. I was asking more for self-defense, in which case you wouldn't probably want something with very high candela. You'd want a nice wide.
Well, it
beam,
depends.
so
Again,
it'd be
so
accurate.
are you in an urban environment or are you in a rural? And if I were in the middle of Montana, I want something with really high candela so I can scan the wood line for wolves at 400 yards.
Oh yeah, no urban.
But
like on
if I'm
campus, like
urban,
she was
right?
talking
Yeah. So
about.
if we're talking uptown,
Yeah.
yeah, I would argue something like that. I think that's 1800 lumens and like 32,000 candela or something like that. It's got a good beam pattern. It's not super focused, right? It's kind of wide, but at the same time, it's focused enough that I can see probably a good 200 yards with this thing. But it's also floodlight enough that I can see ancillary things to the side. So don't get caught up on the number. 100 lumen light is better than no lumens.
Yeah, no, I
So
was just wondering if you knew, because I was thinking, you know, if you want for self-defense, you probably want something with a wide beam so that you don't have to be super accurate, but you'd want it bright enough to blind the person in front of you, but not so bright that the reflection blinds you too.
Don't worry about the reflection.
Okay.
Watch, so if you want to watch somebody who really knows what they're talking about, Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Give me all the lumens is what he says. Give me all the lumens. 1200 lumen light on a pistol, give it to me. I don't care if I'm in a house.
Because you can go online and get a high density LED array that puts out 30,000 lumens for like $1.
It'll work once.
Yeah, I know. You need a huge heat sink, but if you're gonna blind somebody, you only
Yeah.
need it to work once. You just set it up on a capacitor, flash it, and that's it.
So, yeah, I mean, figure out what works for you. Yeah, but don't worry so much about blinding yourself, truthfully, because you control the light. If you know I'm gonna be blinded as soon as I shut this thing off, don't shut it off. Right? Control the situation. Does that make you more of a target? Arguably, yeah, you shoot at the light, right? But you gotta weigh the pros and cons to everything. And as far as tactics go, I'm the worst person to ask for tactics. I have no training in any of that, right? You gotta talk to somebody who's done it, law enforcement, military, somebody who's used that effectively to save their life or somebody else's. That's who you wanna talk to about that. But, there, again, trust but verify, right? So I can tell you everything in the world that you wanna know, but don't take my word for it. Go vet it through somewhere else. What other questions? There's a lot of stuff up here. You're welcome to come up and poke through it too after. Who carries a spare mask? Yeah. When did you start carrying it? Right? Well, it's a rhetorical question. But you realize at some point, oh shit, what if I lose this one? Or what if it breaks? Or what if it gets wet in the rain and I can't breathe through it? Whatever it is, right? You started becoming a prepper. You got insurance in your vehicle, you're a prepper. You have a fire extinguisher in your house or apartment, prepper.
Morris Jenkins.
Yeah.
No, I had Morris Jenkins rep come out today to our house, and
Oh,
he
God.
started talking about how he has rabbits and chickens and all, because he's a huge prepper.
Oh, there you go.
Like, I have no idea how we got on this subject, but,
Always finds his way
I'm
down.
heading to the Morris Jenkins technician guy's house, because he's
Yeah.
set up.
So that's something else, actually, in a future seminar. All right, so let's talk about that. What's next? So this is obviously kits. We're going to talk about how your vehicle can save your life, when to bug in and bug out, strategic gear considerations. Those are the next three. Part of that is, in the bug in or bug out, is kind of what you're talking about, right? Oh, I'm just going to go to his house. Yeah, okay. If he's got chicken, if he's so far down the road that he's got chickens and rabbits, showing up unannounced, maybe not the best tactic.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was talking about his rabbits are multiplying, and so every 3 months worth of rabbits that he goes through is a year worth of meat. So he's figured all this out, and it's
My
like
gosh.
yeah, it was a very intense conversation. And then he tried to sell me a water heater right after that.
That's a salesperson. Anything online, Deb?
It's very interesting.
Cool. How many people? Anybody?
It's fluctuated between 5 and 12.
Better than zero. You can always watch it after the fact. And that's the cool thing about these. You can always go back and watch them after the fact. And pick up on something, or if you forgot to take notes or whatever, you can go back and rewatch it.
I would just add, we go to we go out to the mountains a lot, so we have bug spray in our bag.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can also use that as mace, obviously, because it's aerosol. So if it's gonna knock a bear
Also
down,
use it as a flamethrower.
yes, you can. Yes, you can do all kinds of fun fraternal type things with that, and also fire starters. So we have the kind you pull a string and it kind of
Yep.
has a little explode, like a flare almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, flares are good.
Those are, yeah, it was pretty good to
Yeah.
start a fire if you really are not dealing with the best of conditions.
Yeah. Wet stuff, or you're just tired. I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Just get it going.
Yeah.
So the cabin, is it your cabin? Is it somebody else, like a?
We rent the same cabin
Oh, okay.
over and over again, but we have like a bag for,
Yep.
you know,
Specific for that.
yeah.
So the other thing too to think about is, and we'll touch on this on the next one, how your vehicle can save your life, is understand that there's way more to your car than what you put in it, right? Like having this kit in there is great, but the car can be a bigger benefit. than just a car with stuff.
So at Point Blank, we just took the vehicle preparedness class.
It's almost like
so
they
use
knew
it as
what
a
I was
weapon.
teaching almost.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, there's a
That's
connection
good though,
there.
because then that will help you vet information.
Well, we were worried about civil unrest, and do you or do you not, how do you use your car? What's the
Right.
best way to use it? So those are questions I had, because I was worried, and still am, that if I'm in a situation by myself in my car and people are blocking the street and.
Yeah,
What's
those are
the-
decisions,
what's
those are
the-
moral decisions that need to be made. Yeah, that's a tough one.
In North Carolina, you're actually allowed to run straight through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, I've always wondered that, that's good to know.
but if you don't have to, I don't want
Oh, yeah,
Only
avoid
if
to,
you have
I have a
to.
white, I have a white car, so.
Any other questions?
My wife drives a Mini Cooper.
Actually,
Just stop it with the
Car
hand.
bag.
what you got?
I didn't see a fire extinguisher in there. Any
It's because it's not in the bag. It doesn't do me any good having this thing in the trunk if I need a fire extinguisher. So it's not in there, it's actually under the driver's seat. Yep, I have a fire extinguisher in there. I've also got many other things in there, but fire extinguisher is one and it's under the driver's seat for just such an occasion. It actually sits right underneath that.
I have to tell you, because of you, we now have dog leashes beside our fire extinguishers in our home.
There you go.
Everywhere, I hung up 3 leashes for my
It's
mom.
amazing. It's almost like freaking holsters. You end up with 1,000 of those things.
Well, we did, we went to the dollar store and we bought a bunch of them,
Yeah.
because what you said was right, if they see the flames, they're gonna go the other way, and so we just spent an hour and hung up all these dog leashes
Smart.
everywhere.
Very smart.
Well, we can, we wanna save our dogs.
They're family. They're not pets, they're family.
Now, if you can figure out how you can get them out of a second story window, we need
They actually make legit
How
things
big?
for that.
How big are they?
Labradors, so I can barely pick them up. I mean, I'll pick
So,
them up if I
again,
have to,
The
but I.
tool and the knowledge might be there, but the physical ability is that.
That's right, well, no, I mean, we went through this, so it's like, I can pick them up if I had to and get them out the window, and we're trying to figure out, maybe we have
So
something
we
in
have,
place.
we have 2 miniature dachshunds, so it's pretty easy. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we have, I mean, well, what's funny is I was telling my wife about it, and I keep a good rope
Yeah.
with a carabiner,
Yep.
and I pretty much took a pillowcase, grabbed one of them, put it in there,
Absolutely,
wrapped it in there, and then like
yeah,
secured it and like put it down, and she was like, that's brilliant. And I was
Yeah.
thinking with the Labrador, bed
Pillowcase
sheet,
might know, yeah, bed sheet.
the bed sheet.
yeah.
She could
Well, I mean, right
actually-
now, we're
Yeah.
talking, what the plan is, we have is to throw all the bedding on the bushes, and we have really
Yeah.
big bushes, and we're just dropping them. If they break a leg, they break a leg, but
Right, yeah.
we just, right now, I don't have a better solution.
See, no, this is a great argument for cats. Just toss them, they're gonna live. Cool. Any other questions? Cool, we'll go ahead and kill the live stream here. If there's any other questions that come in, I'll answer them later.